right, good morning. Time to do some game dev, as we have been for the last. This is week 6 of learning Godot. I'm gonna work on this breakout clone. I think some more today. Have to remember where we left off. Let's see. Let's find Godot. It's one of the windows. So where we had left off was I had started to sketch out this idea of like a level resource. We have a level dot. So the resource file. That's interesting. Should we not have? Yeah, figure that out in a second. And then the scene. Right, so level 1 is just like the blocks, right? So at present, our game doesn't have a level. We do. So things I need to do. One is figure out like what I was doing last week with the whole idea of having a resource to represent a level. Is one. 2, to figure out, I guess when the game loads, we need to load the first level. And then we'll need to make a second level and figure out like, okay, well, when one level's completed, we go to the next level. And then all the bits in between, right? So all the bits between is like, okay, well, we probably want something like, oh, you completed this level, loading the next one, some kind of transition there. With a little bit of time delay so that you're not just thrown back into it. And like the game, like the ball needs to respawn when we switch levels, without like that costing the player a life. And then we need like a couple of like things for when the game ends. Like here was your score. I think one of the things I said I wanted to do with this game, for the purposes of like figuring out how to do things and for practice, is having levels. That's what we're working on now. Have a high score list. So like in an arcade game, you'd have like at the end of the game, you would be like, this is your score, putting your initials, and then there would be a high scores list, right? Or maybe it would only ask you that if your score is in the top 10 or whatever. We'll do something. And then there's a couple more things I want to do with the breakout clone before we move on to the next thing. One is we can play it and it's playable and it works, right? That's like the gate before we move on to the next thing. But also, I saw a video a few weeks ago of like using curves to control input. I initially was thinking to use that for like mouse input, but even I'm sure there's something we can use that concept for. And then I think I want to set up a template repo for these projects going forward, which I touched on a week or two ago, to make it so that it's just a little easier to get started, because we're going to carry forward the same basics like the menuing and those sorts of things between games. So that's what we're doing here. It's our progression from Pong to Breakout to Minesweeper. I haven't figured out what specifically would be different about Minesweeper. Obviously, Minesweeper is a game. Has a field. You click things. I guess mouse interaction. In fact, yeah. Let's start with. We'll start a new list of things we're gonna figure out here. Mouse interaction with game objects. So like right now, like we have UI elements that you can click on with the mouse, but we've not done anything where you use the mouse within the game. So we'll do that for Minesweeper. Maybe there's some other stuff. Random level generation. Maybe not so interesting. I don't know. This will be something where there aren't let's say map generation. There won't be exactly levels, right? In Minesweeper, it's just like this is the grid size, and then you randomly generate where the mines are. I guess that is a bit different from like Breakout, where we're gonna have distinct levels and not randomly generate. Okay, so we'll see if we can think of some more things. So we're doing levels here, so we're that. There you go. Okay, cool. So this is kind of my kind of progression as I'm learning Godot. So anyway, back to this though. So we have a level.gd file. That's what we started working on a week ago. So we extend a resource. We call this a level, and it has a name. It has data. Let's change this. Let's just call this name, and we'll call this scene. I think that makes more sense. And so like this type resource. So this is wrong. Can we change what this is? View owners, rename, duplicate. No. Okay, I'm gonna delete this. Actually, there's a file on disk, right? For that level.tres. Yeah. Type resource, script class, level. Interesting. Shouldn't script level name. So weird. Why? Oh, no, I don't get it. There should be stuff over here. If we're not selecting. I need to double click it. Okay, there we go. I was like, why isn't it showing up in the inspector? Level 1. And then we select our scene, which is our level 1 scene. And then, yeah, break count 2. Okay, so we save that. So then when we look back here, yeah, we can see break count 2, level 1. Here's the external resource for the scene. Okay, that seems fine. So, I think the idea was that we were gonna have settings that varied between levels. Things like maybe a level would have spawn multiple balls, or the balls would accelerate faster, or they would have a faster initial speed, or they would have some other behavior, or the width of the paddle would change between levels. So things beyond just the layout of the bricks. The bricks also will vary per level. That's why we have the scene file with this, and we might have like variations on bricks that have like things that spawn from them and various things. Let's see. But the idea is going to be that some of the information about the level is in this resource file. And so then the resource file will point to the scene that needs to be loaded. So the idea will be that something is going to cause the level manager to find the right level and load it. Okay, level manager doesn't have a script yet. It probably should. Or it doesn't really make sense for it to be there. So if we go back to main, game scene, main. So main has a script. Okay, so this is like pause and unpause and kind of menu interaction stuff. Yeah. Right, and then we have a game manager that's auto-loaded. It does a lot. It has our initial lives, it has a signal. But this can't... How do I want to do this? Go back to the game scene. I guess what I need to do is have a script on level manager, and have its ready function be called, and it needs to hook onto a signal from the game manager. So the level manager will listen for a signal to dictate what happens on the level. And then there's kind of two flows of information. So there's one which is like, oh, we want to load a level, but then we also need to know about when the level is over. So we know when the game is over because the game manager keeps track of that through various signals, because it knows what happens to the ball and what happens to the dead zone, because we have like signals hooked up to that. Right, so like on dead zone body entered, method. So we call the game manager. Oh, right. So the messages, like if we think about like this communication that's happening, right, between different parts of the game, if we think about them as messages, the level manager is going to get messages from the game manager by the level manager subscribing to events from a signal, to messages from the signal, to listen for the signal. The thing about programming is, because like at the end of the day, under the hood, it's just a bunch of zeros and ones, right? Everything that I'm doing, everything that everyone does with programming, is layers of abstraction or metaphor, ways of thinking about things, and ways of expressing ideas that are made concrete with some binary that's moving around and some logic, right? So there's often more than one way of saying a thing, and that can be a danger, because if you mix metaphors, it can become really confusing what's going on. So what I want to do is, the level manager needs to know when we are progressing through different levels. I guess to some extent, the level manager will know when the level is done. It should. Let's not worry so much about the second, that last thing I said of like figuring out when the level's complete. Let's figure out how we're loading the initial level. Maybe level manager on ready just loads the first level. It should own the logic for loading levels in general. So let's add a script. We'll call it level manager, sure. And at some point I'll worry about like organizing the files, maybe, or maybe not. Yeah, so like what Copilot's suggesting here might be reasonable, of like reaching out to the game manager and saying, hey, although this syntax is wrong, connect takes 2 arguments. I think maybe in past versions of Godot, it must have taken 3 arguments like this or something, because Copilot always suggests connecting signals like this, and it doesn't seem to work. But let's just pass for a second. Think about what we're doing, right? So we have a level manager. So this is going to be attached to the node where we want to add the levels under. And maybe we could start with just I wonder, could we have like a export var levels? Except it's not an array of pack scene, it's an array of level. And we have a var current level index, something like that. And then what I could do is in the level manager, if I go to the inspector, see we have a levels array, and we can just add an element, and we can select level 1, and there we go. So now the script and the node, like in and of itself, doesn't need to know anything about the levels or how to find the levels or anything like that. We just have an array, a list of the levels. And then what we're going to do is we're going to... is there like an assert? There is. Nice. Yeah, and then we can make a load level function. I like it. Let's see what Copilot generates. Interesting. Okay, so we have some... let's assert. Yeah, that's good. Current level index equals level index. Sure. So we update our variable. We grab that level. We load the level scene by not exactly, right? So level, our resource, has a scene that is already a packed scene, and then we have to instantiate it, right? So the packed scene is like this packaged up. Here we go. An abstraction of a serialized scene, a simplified interface to a scene file. So it's not loaded yet, right? It's not running real in a way. Level instance, okay, and then add it to add the level instance under the current node. So one thing I want to think about here, when we load a level, we need to unload the current level. Generally speaking, let's say unload level, remove all children level instances from this node. I guess that works. There won't be any. I'm saying right now that there won't be any children underneath this node that the level manager script is attached to. So I guess this is fine. There would only be one child anyway, but we'll just do a loop because get children returns an array or a list or something like that. If param include internal is false, excludes internal children. So it defaults to false. See, add child's internal parameter. What is internal? So that's that third argument there for add child. So if internal is different than internal node disabled, child would be added as internal node. These nodes are ignored by methods that get children unless they're okay. Used by some GUI nodes. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so there's kind of like a level there of yeah, anyway. All right, so I think like once the game loads and loads this node, then it's going to load the first level. So I think this should make the game work again. Right? We got our nice shader that we copied and changed the parameters for. And well, I did more than that. I also changed it so that the graphics go in opposite directions. Well, that's just I changed the parameters in such a way that they did that. I like that. Anyway, new game. Hey, it helps if I it helps if I can actually do things. Yay! All right, but there's no like level completion when you run out of lives. It says game over down here, right? But that's it. Okay, so that's progress though, because what we had ended up with on the end of last Sunday stream was a game with no bricks. And hello, Brainless. Good morning. How are you? How was your Sunday? Doing well? How about me? Doing all right. Working through the coffee. And excited to make some progress on this game. This little very old game. It's a game that's older than me, right? When did Breakout come out? Just play it right there. It was so bright. Do we have a dark mode? Yes, all right, nice. Got my first timed achievement yesterday. Nice. And yeah, we were talking on Friday about you doing achievement hunting. But I feel dirty because I restarted 3 times to get it. Well, I mean, by that logic, clearly you should have gotten all the achievements in your first run. I don't know if there are achievements that actually are like some games have achievements where you can't even get them until you like do multiple runs, right? I don't know if that's the case for Mind Over Magic. Release 76. So yeah, I'm not that old. But I did have an Atari 2600 at one point that I got used. And I believe there was a Breakout Clone on it, if I remember right. Well, not a Breakout Clone. Well, I don't know. A Breakout game. Okay, so what next? Well, I could either do a second level and see. I mean, that's probably a good progression, right? So we'll make a second level and we'll figure out how to go from level 1 to level 2. And then we'll come back to the whole, like, what happens if you, like, we need a game over screen, and we need then to have transitions between levels, and then we need, like, the final score screen, enter your initials, and the high score screens. So yeah, so we'll do those, but first let's make another level. Why not? So I think I can just duplicate, right? I can duplicate this and we'll call it level2.tscn. And we'll edit this. And so level 2, we just... excuse me. Let's see, the easiest thing to do here is to go to move mode. And that'll move the whole thing. Oh, hey, look, it's a bot. Hello, bot. Goodbye, bot. Oh, that only shows up for me. I should look at the... I have 2 versions of chat, if you didn't know. I have one on my top screen. If I'm well, you can't see in this view. You noticed. I have 2 versions of chat though. One is the one that's just like from the stream manager that has that has everything, like things you would see as a mod, right? And then I have a version of chat that's in OBS that is like a logged out view because I haven't logged into Twitch through the little embedded browser inside of OBS. Anyway, all right, so I can right click and create new resource, and then if I search for or just select level here, I can create a new level. We'll call it level 2, and we'll give it a name. Like, I could have fancy names for the levels if I wanted to, if I had some kind of like if there was like a story. Ooh, that might be a good thing to do. Can we have a thing? Let's see. I have a place for notes. Here we go. Let's use this for notes. Okay, so we're gonna do show level name when level loads in. What are the other things I said? Game over screen when you run out of lives. And wait some, let's see, wait a second or two before loading next level. Game over screen. Screen to enter initials if score is in top 10, and then screen to show high scores. Menu option to get to high scores. Okay, that's to start with. And then what did you say, Brainless? I had an idea, Brainless says, for a web app. Not sure if I will follow up on it with it, but the idea was to build something where you can get suggestion on channel to raid. Those channels will have user valuation and also ranked by viewer count relative to yours, tag similarity, game played, etc. Aw. So would this be like, let's say I'm streaming and I'm considering who to raid. Would this be something where you, I mean, it could be anyone, right? But is the idea that it's like a viewer of channel A submits ideas for channels to raid, or would this be more like streamers submitting their channels? I mean, I guess at the end of the day, if it's open for, unless it's like locked down to like community members of a community, streamer recommendation. Okay. So, I as a streamer would say, hey, suggest my channel, and then someone else looking for someone to raid who's streaming would potentially see that recommendation if it was a good match. Have you seen? There was a thing recently that Twitch added. Let's see, where is that? I don't use it. I don't use it, but there's like a raid browser thing in Twitch now. Unless they took it away again, which is also possible. Where was that? Analytics. No. Maybe it was like a widget that I needed to add. Maybe I had to start a raid first for it to show up. I forget how to get to it, but there is a thing in Twitch. Yeah. It does some of that, but it doesn't work off of recommendations. It just like is like people streaming. I guess honestly that's probably something I should probably do a little bit more of, is like looking for new people to raid, but I also like raiding channels that are familiar to me. Because they're those are the channels that I will be lurking in anyway, so that's why I haven't really used the raid browser. I forget how to get to it even. I think I have to like kick off a raid first. Let me. Oh yeah. So if you, let's see, I can bring this down here and show this on stream. I think. So when you click raid channel now, you get this, which is supposed to, let's see, same category, similar or smaller size, right? And then if I want to also say following, yeah, there you go. I guess I should use this more. Yeah, thought you should know, because it did sound kind of overlappy. But you know, maybe there's some inspiration in what this is doing that you could build on top of. Events, interesting. Yeah, I typically just use the chat command, right, to kick off a raid, because I also want to kick off the Frosty Tools raid thing. But anyway, so we got a list of things we want to do next. Except for the one thing I said I wanted to actually do next, which was to load the next level when all bricks removed. Okay, so how do we know when all the bricks are removed? Well, we do keep track of the bricks, like the number of bricks there are. I'm not sure if I actually want to do that after all. Because, well, let's take a look at, let's save this. Let's take a look at our level. So our level doesn't have a script. The bricks have a script. The bricks all share the same script, which just handles calling the game manager to add score and to remove itself. So one thing I could do here is that I could make it so that, so we call it add score on game manager. This right now just adds the score to the total, right? But I could also make this emit a signal that's like, hey, brick removed. And then in the level manager, I can keep track of that. And compare that to the, so we have inside of the level class, inside of our level here, a number of bricks there are. So I could have a like var bricks removed, right? And load level would make sure to reset the bricks removed for the new level. And so we do that, and what we do is we get that signal, we add 2 bricks removed, and we check to see if bricks removed is equal to the number of bricks in the level. And then if that is the case, then the level is done, right? And then we need to unload the level, unload the next level effectively. So that's one way of doing it. Let's talk about another way of doing it before I go ahead and implement that. So the other way of doing it, I guess, would be to have it wouldn't be sufficient to look at the children of the level manager, because that would contain the level node, and then the level might have bricks. It might have other things, maybe things that aren't even removable. So we might have to add a separate script per level to handle that. This reminds me of something. What was it gonna? Oh, good. I need to this tab. I think I've made this comment before. I've definitely I've watched back some of the streams and like with the keyboard cam, and I definitely have issues with hand positioning, because I'm often just kind of clustered over here. Some of it is like WAS, and I could move away from WAS. I'm always changing key bindings anyway, because it's not WAS, it's WARS for me. The BARS. But even then, I have like Control and Alt and Shift and Tab that I use over here when I could be using the ones down here for key combos and stuff. So it's something I've noticed of late. What was that? Oh yeah. All right, that's the Windows key. It also doesn't help that what I need to do is I should like do some customization of my keycaps. to remind me of what some of these keys are that I use less. But anyway, so we have a second level, and what we want to do, I think the easiest thing to do is to, we're gonna add a signal. Do we want a game over signal? Potentially. Although, if that's the case, I want to rename that. Yeah, I know, it's not used yet. We're gonna want to omit that signal. Since I'm here, making signals, Copilot suggested it. Player scored. Right, and so we'll do that. Emit there. And then in Level Manager, we're going to Game Manager dot player scored dot connect, and then we just need to declare that, right? What is it's callable and flags? Okay, or flags action behavior. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to make this function on player scored. Bricks removed is incremented. Let's see, is this logic right? If bricks is greater than or equal to level, current level index, that total bricks, then increment the current level. If it's less than levels that size, right? So if we have another level for it, we unload level, load the next level. Otherwise, we emit the signal from Game Manager. Interesting. That is an interesting choice. I think instead what we're going to do is we're going to say player wins. Player won. And we'll just implement that function. Okay. Cool. That's a temporary solution. Well, all of this needs to be revised. But yeah, okay. So we add 1 to the bricks removed on the basis that this gets called every time player scored. Player scored is called every time add score is called. Add score is called from somewhere. Oh yeah, from the bricks inside the level, right? Per brick. So the number of times that's called corresponds to the number of bricks. From here, this is valid, right? Levels, array level. Why can't I get? Okay, hold on. Let's look at level bricks count. Yeah. Okay, and that's why I was not getting hover over, because it was wrong. So wait, if I did this and I could have auto-completed. Ah, so Copilot had that wrong. Let's see. Okay. So this should make it so that once I remove all the bricks from a level, we go to the next level. Right? Except it doesn't, because I didn't add level 2 to the levels in the game. Right? In Level Manager, we have this. We need to add an element, and we need to select level 2. Okay. And then we have 2 levels. New game. The sound effect is so important. This would be tedious without it. All right, we broke it. Excellent. What did we break? Okay, Level Manager 34, load level. Level scene dot instantiate. Did I do something wrong? Oh yeah, I didn't populate. I didn't populate the resource. Hold on, we gotta add the scene. And brick count should be 4. There we go. Let's add an assertion to aid in our debugging. There you go. All right. Cool. And let's just go ahead and stop and we'll start it again. Okay, level 2. Should we have something? I mean, we're gonna display a thing, right? That's gonna say what level it is. The paddle is maybe a little too narrow. Or I'm moving too fast. One of the two. Or I just need to get better. Okay. The game is over. When the game is over, we should definitely go back to level 1. All right, I won. Final score 20. Cool. Okay, so in Game Manager. All right, so here we reset game. When we reset game, we emit restart level. So level manager, how should this work? Like we call reset game, which calls things. Wait, what calls game over? Okay. Start. So reset game should not call restart level. So what does restart game do? Or reset game? It resets the lives and score within the game manager. That's kind of our internal state. Okay, well, load the next level when all bricks are removed. We did achieve that, so let's check that off. Let's see. So when we call game over, reset game, player 1, we reset game, but we need a signal. So what does the game over signal represent? Are we listening? We're not even listening to that, right? So let's do this. When we game manager dot so restart level shouldn't change anything in the level manager, because I think a design decision I made for this, which I didn't capture anywhere, but I think the way I wanted to do this was that if you miss the ball, it doesn't reset the level, right? You just continue playing the level. So we wouldn't want to do anything on restart level, but on game over, we do want to handle by setting current level index to 0. No, we don't need to do that. Let's just unload the level, load level 0, or do we even need to do that? I guess here's a thought, right? So right now, when the node is ready, so like when exactly? So in the main scene, Yeah, I guess as soon as the game starts, like as soon as the program runs, essentially, um, this gets evaluated and the level is loaded. We just don't see it because we're on the menu screen. So there's two ways we could, well, there's infinitely many ways we could do this, but there's two ways that I'm thinking about right now. One is the default state of this, the node, the level manager node, is that the initial level, so like level 0, is, now I've confused myself. Level 1, which we are referring to with an index of 0, is the level that's loaded, right? Like as soon as the program starts, this gets evaluated, it loads the level. And then when anything happens that causes us to be like, okay, game over, we reset the state of the level manager to have the first level loaded. Alternatively, we make it so that there's a signal when the game starts, like when you hit, new game, start game or whatever in the menu, and that the game is actually properly started. There's some kind of signal, and that's when we load the level. And so in that case, generally on game over, we would just unload the level. And so an unloaded, an empty level manager would be the default state. Now, the way I've currently implemented this, I've chosen the first one. There may be a point where I need to choose a different way, especially if like there were things within the levels that were moving or changing. But since there isn't, I guess it's fine either way, and it's simpler to do it the way I've done it. So what exactly have I changed? There's no ball. What happened? Why is there no ball? Well, I changed reset game to not call restart level. Okay, think about this. What is player lost life? What's calling that? Oh, the dead zone. The dead zone calls that. So when the ball goes below the bottom of the screen, this function is called. If we run out of lives, we call game over. Otherwise, we emit restart level, which resets the ball. I guess. So reset game. Okay, what if I put this back? Restart level.emit. Why did I remove that? This was causing some difficulty, but we're not listening to restart level here. So I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's see what this does. Okay. So I think that worked. Of course, what should happen is we should have like a, end of game screen here. And we'll need one for like, oh, you died. And all of those things. I also wonder if when we start the next level, if the acceleration that the ball has should carry over. Let's see, how does this work? So, on player scored. Right. So right now when we switch levels, we don't do anything that would cause the ball to get reset. That should happen. So what does restart level actually do? It causes reset position to be called. So it respawns the ball. So here's what I'm thinking. We should rename the signal to, oh, Copilot's not going to give me a different name? Okay. Something like that. So that's clear what's going on. Like the whole point is to, that's what we want to have happen, but that's not, I don't feel like that's the best name. That's not what I meant to click. Rename symbol. So why do we respawn the ball? That was why this was called restart level before, because that's like the okay, I think it's fine. What's interesting here, I've not done this yet, but I guess we can actually reach into Game Manager and grab a signal and emit it. Now this feels not right. Like, this feels like something that could come back and bite me. Making this a little bit more complicated of, like, what is the kind of flow of like, what is the relationship between level manager and game manager? I think the fact of the matter is these two scripts and these two objects are pretty tightly coupled. I don't feel great about their interrelationship, but I guess the opportunity here in making these practice games is seeing, as we kind of carry forward these ideas and the structure into different games, what works and what doesn't, what causes problems. So the idea is once we complete a level, the ball resets, which has a few effects, right? One is that it puts the ball back to the center of the screen and gives it a random direction, but also it resets its speed because the ball just keeps accumulating speed every time it bounces, which I don't think I want to carry over from level to level. Yeah, see? There we go. Although I will say, it was really cool when the ball bounced off the top of one brick in level 1, and then bounced off of the next brick on level 2, and it just kind of was continuous. But that's not really what I was going for. Oh, that was a miss. All right. So, congratulations, I won. Final score 90. Great. Actually thinking about it, both the oops, I ran out of lives, and I guess I can have a different ending for I completed all levels versus it ran out of lives. At the end of the day, it's still you got this much score, is it a high score, do all that stuff. So we'll do that. Okay. So Okay, cool. I've not done any of those things yet. What I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna take a break here for a couple of minutes because Twitch wants to run ads, and there's nothing I can do about that. But what I can do is I can make them happen at a given time. So I'm gonna take a couple minutes, stretch my legs, and yeah, when we come back, I will be working on showing the level name when the level loads in, and these other tasks. And we'll just like incrementally make this a better and better experience of a game. So